You see we got our gauges installed, our key switch installed. So let's see what happens here. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Winter time's finally decided to straighten up a little bit, and I need to get back on this skid steer. I've done a few things since the last video. In the last video, you'll see, and I'll show you here, we had an oil leak and the grapple bucket wasn't working the way it should have been. Hey, gravity blows. Oh yeah, we gotta loosen this up. Not grease that leaky, just kind of stiff. And we're going to resolve all those issues and fix all those little things that we need to fix, because I need to clean some junk up around this place, and I need this unit here to do it. So let's get going with it. I really haven't done a whole lot since that last video, but I did get the seat changed. I don't know how that blue stripe got on there. I was painting some things and apparently I oversprayed when it was in my building, but we got the seat in there. And that's pretty much it. But you'll notice in that video, as soon as I put this grapple bucket on there, I could get the auxiliary. See, here's your bucket. This is your boom up and down. There's your bucket in and out. And then this one's your auxiliary. Now when I was pushing it like that, see how it sticks? And it wasn't coming back the other way. But look here, I don't know if you can see that. It's working both ways now. And all I did was grease, might be tough to see, that little fitting, and hosed everything down with WD-40 real good, and it's sit here for about 2 months now. It's still relatively stiff, but it's working now. So I think if I started this thing up, that grapple will work how it's supposed to be. But before we do that, I'm gonna get busy. I got my template for my new gauges I'm gonna put in, cut out there, and do away with all of this. And that's what that was all about, if you can see that. I got a new oil pressure gauge and a manual oil pressure gauge, and I couldn't find a manual water temperature gauge that suited me, so we got this electric one, and I've installed it right here, coming right off the water pump. And then you'll see we still got the Lowe's drain flex hoses, but I'm gonna tell you what, the whole time it sit here, it didn't like a drop. I mean, I drained it to put that in there. And those new hoses I ordered, they're wrong. They won't match up. They don't fit. So it's a good thing this works, because this is what we're going with. I'm glad it don't leak, because if it leaked, we'd have to do something else. But I think we're going to be okay with that. Let's see, what else? Our choke cable for our shut-off down in here, if you can see. That's how you shut the engine off. This little lever I'm moving. Might be tough to see that. I still ain't got a choke cable. I was just out a little bit ago, and I should have went to Rally's or somewhere and got one, but I didn't. But that's all I've done. I've installed this temperature sensor. I've installed the seat. And that's pretty much it. Winter's been pretty much kicking my butt this winter, and I'm glad to see it moving on down the road. So now you see where we're at. Let's finish up all these things on this. All right, it's now been a couple days. I got busy the other evening, and I had to go do stuff and I couldn't finish this little project, but here's where we are. The water temperature sending unit installed, wired, alternators wired. Hopefully it works. I got me a choke cable here. Use that to run this little lever right back here on the injection pump. I might be able to reach it. You see me move it. That shuts the fuel off. So it shuts the engine off. I got the water temperature gauge wires installed. I'm gonna be working on the oil pressure gauge now. Try to get it all hooked up. Got a manual oil pressure gauge. Had to buy some longer tubing because what came in the kit was just too much. I got this cheap $12.99 job key switch. I think that's for like a lawnmower or something. But the only two wires I need is the start right here and the battery. All right, so on this key switch, we're only using two spots, and we're gonna be using the start and the battery. And that'll be battery voltage that'll stay here all the time. And then when we turn the key to start it, it's just gonna send signal from the start point to our starter solenoid. Pretty simple. And to confirm that, we'll put our meter on here. So there's no continuity, no continuity, no continuity. But if I hold this key in the start position, now we got continuity. Then when you let off, it breaks, and that's pretty much simple. Everybody knows how an ignition switch works. And like I say, this was $12.99, and no more than that's going through it. Where I'm not using none of this. I think this should last, but you never know about them Chinese imports. All right, now we're moving on to the oil pressure. This was the electronic oil pressure sensor that was on it. And all this did was there was a light box where it was supposed to be, and I never did have it, never come with the machine. And I couldn't find one, so anyways, when it read oil pressure, then there would be no light, all the lights and everything. But if you lost oil pressure, it read low oil pressure, then just a little light would come on with a little oil symbol, letting you know you're low on oil pressure. So done away with that, and this is going in its spot, and then that's going to hook my manual gauge up, and then that's how we're going to roll on this thing. And like I say, there was probably absolutely nothing wrong with that electric sensor, but I'm old school, so we'll get this installed. You see, to access that oil pressure fitting, I had to raise the cab up. Crawl down in here, and right there on the side of the engine. So we're gonna pick up oil pressure. You see, I got it in there, and I got my little tube. Got it run down and then up where this harness goes in the bottom of the cab. And then it runs up through there around the top, and then we'll go over to where our gauge will be. So anytime we want to raise and lower the cab or whatever, it's all fine. I want it to run like the factory wiring does. So that's what I'm doing now. Well, while I was in here hooking up my oil pressure line, I thought, I wonder to see what was leaking down there. I mean, there's a little tiny one right there, but that's nothing. It's really nothing. But all that was coming from here, it's gonna be tough for y'all to see, but I found it here. It's this fitting right here. You see that? And it's tight, which I hit it with a chisel, but it didn't move. So I'm gonna say that that O-ring is just dry rotted, hard, brittle, and hard as a rock. And I'm gonna have to take that fitting off and put a new O-ring on the end of that boss end and then put it back in there. And I think that's what it looks like. Nothing else seems to be leaking, so I'm not gonna get into that right now. I want to get the rest of this stuff done, but that's an easy fix if that's all we got, and that would just be awesome. So I got my tubing run up through the floor and coming up to here so far. So I'm gonna get all this tied in and get the gauge installed. Well, it's the next day. Again, seems to be the headline for this little project. It's the next day, it's the next day, it's the next day. But I just finished up and I'll show you what we got here. Oh. Our choke cable for keel. See it back here moving. Now what I had to do, I had to go and buy a kit to mount like on a carburetor on like an old gas pickup truck to get this to work right, and I got it functioning pretty good there. I'll do it like this, you can see. That should kill it, and then that'll open the fuel back up, so that's what we're doing. So yeah, I got the oil gauges installed and everything, and I'll set this cab down. We'll try this thing out and see if everything works. I haven't got to that oil leak and get my safety latch here. Even though my crane's holding it, you never know. But I want to try this thing out. I'm gonna see if this gravels work and see if all this works. I'm gonna go try this thing out and make sure my gauges and my key switch and my shut off and all these little odds and ends, because the only thing I'll have left is that oil leak. And I think it would be easier for me to put this thing up on blocks and go at it that way and go from underneath rather than down here from the top. And kind of for the sake of this video, we'll just try this thing out and see how everything works. And then the only thing I'll have left is an oil leak, and that's no big deal. And if that O-ring doesn't fix it, then I'll be sure to let you guys know. But I'm pretty certain that's what's going on here. So let's put this cab down and try everything out here. Shut that noisy thing back on. Alrighty. I have bags in the seat because it rained a little bit last night. And I don't want my little butt to get wet. There we go. You see we got our gauges installed, our key switch installed. So let's see what happens here. Fire in the hole. That's unfortunate. Anytime now. Cold out here. I mean, that sun's deceiving. It's like low 40s right now, but it's starting to come up here now. That's good. We got oil pressure and it works. I'll have to let it run a little bit to see if that water temperature gauge, see if once it gets warmed up, see if all that stuff works. I'm gonna shut it off here and see if that works right now. So we'll see what that does. I didn't pull it hard enough the first time. So you gotta really gotta pull it. Now let's see if it reset it and it'll start back up. Fire in the hole. Oh, that's good. I don't have to stick my hand in there no more, and that works. So that's good. Now let's try out this grapple. Good. That's good to know that all this stuff's working now. Over here we can hear it. Yeah, that's really good. And like I say, on that linkage, the only thing I did was shoot some grease to it and WD-40, and just. It's set there, and I sprayed a little bit in there when I was in there a minute ago, but I haven't greased it yet. I'm gonna grease it again before I take off. But yeah, we'll let this thing warm up and make sure that water temperature gauge works, and we'll try this thing out finally, officially, see how it does. And there you go. You gotta really pull that. I'm gonna have to adjust that just a little bit. But our water temperature come up. All right, so the good, our gauges work, our key switch works, our shutoff works. All right, that's great. The bad, this grapple don't really work the way it should work. It's getting stiff. You've seen a couple times. I had to really stand on that to get them to clamp back. And it's not the lever linkage, it's hydraulically, I can feel it. It's not draining, the spool's not shifting right, and it's holding oil pressure on this one side for whatever reason. And that's another thing I'll have to tear into and fix. But for right now, I just need the bucket to do some finish grading. And there's an auction coming up this week, and there's several sets of forks, and I plan to 100% at least buy a set of forks for this skid steer, because I need it to help me pick up the big logs to put on my sawmill. There's several other things I got my eyes on, so if you've made it this far in the video, you might as well go ahead and hit that subscribe and hit that little notification button, because I got some things coming up. And I'm hoping this week there's several little toys up my alley at this auction that I'm hoping I can snag relatively cheap. So keep your eyes on that. And if you want to know what's been taking up most of my time here lately, we spin this around Oh yeah, our garage is coming in full effect here, and it's starting to come together. And most of my free time here lately, this is what I've been spent doing. You know, when the weather's nice, you know, going through winter, you'll have a day that's decent, and then you'll have pretty crappy weather. This is what my time's been spent on, and I'm not gonna have an how-to video of every little thing I did, but there'll be a time-lapse video or whatever of this garage coming up. And that's what I've been doing. And these is all, I got some store-bought lumber, and then I got lumber that I sawed on my sawmill. All these 6x6 posts I sawed on my little sawmill. So I'm excited to I need to at least get a roof and to where I got something to work on, something instead of out here in the weather. And then these projects will come a lot better and a lot faster. Instead of me, when I get off work, pouring rain, can't do nothing. That is going to change that. So, hey guys, thanks for tuning in this video. And we got everything fixed except for our little hydraulic issue on our grapples, but we'll get to that at some point in the later. It won't be in the near future. That'll be an on down the road project, but I'm not too concerned about that. So, yeah, have a good day.